I mean, I think financial stress is something that shows up across income spectrums, across all kinds of workers, but we in particular work very closely with our frontline employees in retail and distribution. And we know that the correlation between financial stress and lost productivity, absenteeism, turnover, all of those things have a really strong relationship. And so when we're able to step in with a solution that improves financial health and reduces financial stress, it really lets people show up as their best selves at work. And I think also lets them know that their employer really cares about them. And I think we as an employer really care about our people as people. And so, it's really not just about are they showing up for their shifts and are they meeting their sales numbers, but are they able to, as a person with their families and in their communities, show up as their authentic selves. And that's something that we really value. We have been running a match savings program through the Red Tab Foundation for the past 6 years or so in the United States. And one of our strategic objectives was to expand our footprint into Canada so we could support our employees in that market. And so we already were really keen on this idea that we could incentivize people to do something better for their financial health by providing a match. And Cuber just fit right into that. There were a few things that we really loved in particular about the Cuber platform. One was how easy the onboarding process and the user experience are for people. It's really important to us that this moment where people feel inclined to act on their financial health and better their situation be something that was really seamless and frictionless. So it was super easy for people to join. We have loved working with them in terms of thought partnership and just designing the program to be what it is. And I think it meets people where they are, especially, it's kind of a low barrier to entry. People are doing most of their stuff on their phones. It's gamified. There's just so many things that make it feel like all the other apps and tools that people are using on their day-to-day basis, but it's really making a substantial impact on their financial health. And we love that. The Red Tab Foundation has been offering a financial hardship relief program for 40 years now. So the core of our work in that program has been emergency cash grants to people who have been impacted by something unexpected in their financial life. What we have seen over those 40 years, though, is that many of the things that were popping up for people that were quote unquote emergencies really could have been handled if they had had a small safety net of their own. And so we decided that we wanted to really double down on that proactive piece of our programming to help people prepare for the inevitable ups and downs in their financial lives and really gain confidence in their skills to manage unexpected emergencies. I mean, our best case scenario would be to put ourselves out of business. We would really love to do that. But I think what we see is that, there's a journey for people on their financial health. And particularly for many of our employees who work in retail, who are young, this is probably their first job, maybe they're working part-time, they just haven't built the skills yet. And so what we hope to see is that, the foundation will not only act as a safety net when big crises happen, we can't always expect natural disasters or house fires or things like that, but that, we can also help people move up this ladder of financial health where, first they're building savings for the short term, they feel secure in that, and then they can start to build skills around budgeting or long-term savings like the 401k. And so if we're successful in our mission, we will constantly be moving people up that ladder of financial health to a place where they're able to really handle anything that comes their way. I think in particular, we love that this program is so flexible because, people are going to have different reasons and motivations for building savings. And so, in our mission, we hope that people are building a rainy day fund for, a flat tire or something like that. But We also hear stories about people who were, trying to pay for their school books, and this gave them a leg up in trying to fund their education and move on to accomplish their dreams. Or we had a great story about somebody who needed to buy a new car because theirs was on their last legs, and the savings behavior that they were able to really get in the groove of when they were participating in this program allowed them to go ahead and purchase that car when that was something that would have felt really out of reach for them. So, certainly those times when people need to react to a crisis, it's very helpful to have that safety net. But we also love that people are using these funds for things that are more aspirational and will have a lot to do with the things that are driving them and their dreams, and they're able to get closer to accomplishing those. Yeah, I think people definitely use these funds for things that are maybe less basic, right? Maybe it's not an emergency. But what we care more about, I think, is that people are achieving this behavior change that we know is sustainable. So if they have committed to 6 months of setting money aside, all of a sudden that's a habit. And that's a habit that's going to last them well beyond their tenure at Levi Strauss and Company, well beyond the duration of that program. And so while right now the driving factor might be a new iPad or a trip that they really want to take, as long as they are solidifying that savings behavior and really growing in their confidence to do that, I think we feel like our mission has still been accomplished. I think largely people have told us that the process has been super easy, that it's been highly motivational because, not only are they getting this rich dollar for dollar match, and so they're getting out more than they're putting in even, but that they feel like it's something that has been habit forming for them. So, the app is really accessible. It's easy for them to check in on their status. It kind of automatically sets up this ability for them to watch their money grow. And that's something that's really motivating for them. We love working with Cuber. I think they've been incredibly responsive. They've been great thought partners for us about thinking about how we can continue to grow the program and serve our clients even more effectively. But they're also just really fun to work with, and it's been pretty seamless. And I would say, one of the easiest program implementations that I've ever done. People are coming out of the pandemic. I think a lot of employers are really struggling to differentiate themselves in a tough labor market. So we're seeing more interest in this type of program than we ever have before, where we have, companies from all over the place asking us how we're doing this and how it works. So I think there's really something to, as an employer, thinking about how are you differentiating the way that you're caring for your people, and that's going to be to some degree a business advantage in the long run. And I think that conversation is very different than it was 1 to 2 years ago coming out of this pandemic, not only in that employers now have an obligation to take care of their people in a very different way than they did prior to the pandemic, but also that the labor market is demanding that. And we see this type of program as really a key differentiator in making us competitive in especially a tough landscape like retail or distribution.